Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Happy weekend. It's a little bit early, but we'll give it a second to get started. So, we're going to get started because it's 11 o'clock and time is valuable. I'm Stacy Casson. For those of you who can't see me, I'm a very tan woman. I have salt and pepper blonde curly hair. I'm wearing clear glasses and a white shirt. I'm also known as the Clarity Concierge. I consider myself an ambassador of play, the goddess of glee, and I help busy people tap into their creativity and their intuition and overcome burnout through play. Oh, we have Akua. So, all our audience members, please say hi and tell us where you're dialing in from. My guest, Nikki St. Paul, is a mind, body, and breath coach and the founder of Breathing Mindful Coaching. She combines her expertise in breathwork coaching and mindfulness meditation to provide holistic support to her clients. She is a certified life and breath coach and an accredited mindfulness meditation teacher. Triple threat, triple support. Nikki supports women in business, predominantly female founders who are always on, to speed up by slowing down, pausing, and resting to achieve sustainable success and thrive in business and beyond. And Nikki, why don't you introduce yourself as well to our listeners?
Hey everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you, Stacey, for having me today. For those who can't see me on the video, I am a Black female. I have twists in my hair, brown glasses, and a blue dress, which looks like a top right now. And I have a microphone and headset. I am fully pro right now, and looking forward to this conversation.
I'm looking forward to it as well. And if you've missed part 1 or 2 in the series, we will post the links to that and you can catch up on everything. So, because both of us are very much into mindfulness, and Nikki will tell you a little bit about that, we're going to start by taking a mindful moment. So, let's just take a moment to unwind, minute to arrive. Okay. So, team, let's get started by some active participation. And while you're voting, you can put Slido up on your phone on what you're afraid of missing out on. Nikki, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what mindfulness is?
Yeah, I love this question. And hey, Akua, lovely to see that you are in Weymouth at the moment. Hope the sun is shining where you are. So, mindfulness, often people think of mindfulness and they immediately think of meditation. So, they think of somebody sitting cross legged on the floor, maybe somewhere peaceful, somewhere serene. And meditation is a way to be mindful, but it is not the only way. So, mindfulness is essentially paying attention to the present moment on purpose. So it's whatever you're doing in the present moment, whether it's you and I speaking now, Stacey, me making myself a drink, making myself something to eat, having a conversation, I'm paying attention to that thing. I'm not trying to do something else. I'm using all of my senses to focus on what is happening at this moment now, and not what hasn't happened before, and not what may or may not happen in the future. So any activity that you do, you can do it mindfully. I love some of these suggestions coming in as well.
Mm. Opportunities passing by. I think the tech is teching a little bit on the poll because seen people put being drained, some networking opportunities. So a lot of things that we're afraid of missing out on. Okay, someone else is typing, and then we'll continue on. But keep going with the polls. You all should be able to see what other people are putting in there. So I do apologize for the teching a little bit on that, but for the instance of time, we're going to keep going.
And
So,
hey, Jennifer, I see that we've got someone tuning in from
oh,
Michigan. Jennifer,
Michigan.
yes.
Lovely. Hey, Jennifer, welcome to the party. Awesome. So we're missing out on opportunities. Like I said, I don't know why it's checking. Being joyful and present, that's a good one. And speaking of that, why don't you explain to our audience what is JOMO? Maybe what's the difference between FOMO and JOMO?
Yeah, and this is most of you or many of you may have heard of the fear of missing out, FOMO. Any ideas, anyone who is watching live or on the replay, just type in what do you think JOMO is? I'd love to see your thoughts on what you think JOMO could be.
Yeah, just in the comments, not on
Absolutely.
the Slido.
Ye Yes, thank you for that point of clarity. So in the comments, wherever you're watching right now, just type it in the comments. What do you think JOMO, JOMO, could be?
And if you're team replay, please just put hashtag team replay if you're watching this after. Oh, we have some shy guests. I'm not seeing
No
any.
worries. Well, I'm just going to keep it moving and I will tell you exactly um, what these two things are and how they relate to mindfulness. So FOMO is a fear of missing out. And we've just asked you that question, like what things are you concerned that you might miss out on? Opportunities, joy, all those things. And the thing with this is that if we have a fear of missing out and we respond to that fear, it means then that we are taking on a lot of different responsibilities, saying yes to a lot of things because we have a fear that we might miss out. So we do all the things. We continue to keep ourselves quite busy. Our calendar is packed. We don't really ever take time for ourselves. Exactly, Akua, you are spot on. So JOMO, on the other hand, other than the fear of missing out, the joy of missing out. Okay, so there can be a joy in saying no. There can be a joy in having space, gaps in our diaries, in our calendars, in our days, in our weeks, in our holiday time. Sometimes this fear of missing out sees us back to back to back to back all the time. And so it leads to then overwhelm and exhaustion. And the point that I want to kind of end on here, Stacey, is that if we know ourselves and we know what we like, what's important to us, then it's easier to say no to things because we're like, that's not aligned or that's not what my body is telling me I need right now. I'm going to say yes to this and I'm going to say no to that. And there's this joy in, I've made a choice. I've made a choice to not try and do all the things all the time. Exactly, Akua. There can be joy in saying no and protecting our boundaries. The B word. It's always the B word.
Boundaries. Yeah, that's one I struggle with. I mean, I think today is a case of physician heal thyself. We were talking about how packed my calendar is today, and I'm not wearing that proudly because this is something I'm definitely working on because it can be overwhelming. Even though these are wonderful things, I'm catching up with some friends, it can still be overwhelming at times. So, let's move on with this. And sometimes it feels like we're spinning a lot of plates. Nikki and I are going to go over some statistics with you. And the ones I'm going to share from everyone's social, just some highlights. How much, and you guys can put this in the chat, how much do you think workplace stress costs the US economy each year? How much do you think it costs each year? And I'm going to come back to that while you all are typing. But 75% of US workers have experienced burnout, according to Flex Jobs, and 63% are, or 2.6 times more likely to seek a new job. Sorry, 63% are more likely to take a sick day, and then 2.6 times more likely to seek a new job, according to Gallup. So I don't have any guesses yet, but it costs the US economy $500 billion
Oh my
each
goodness.
year. So I'm going to turn it over to Nikki, who's my partner from across the pond today. And how's this impacting the UK?
Yeah, great question, because it's always good to see like how things differ from country to country. But I would say that the theme is similar. It's no different. There was a mental health report done this year in 2024, and 91% of UK adults were actually experiencing high or extreme levels of pressure and stress in the past year. So pretty high, 9 in 10 people. And we see that 20%, or 1 in 5, depending on what you like to say, of workers needed to take time off work, not for a holiday, not for like something lovely, but because they were stressed, because they were under pressure. And actually, if these things were addressed, then it could save our National Health Service here in the UK about £1.2 billion a year. So there's cost savings to be had, but also benefits in terms of our ability to have less stress and less pressure and overwhelm. So those are kind of the situation over here on this side of the pond.
And if we look at this globally, there was a study done by the Boston Consulting Group. Now, to be fair, it was only 8 countries, but they're pretty big hitting countries. 48% of workers around the world are struggling with burnout. Predominantly is 8 major countries, so we're extrapolating from that, but they are a large part of the world's population. And it was higher in the subgroup, so it's 26% higher. So if you're a woman, or if you're LGBTQIA, or if you're a person with a disability or a deskless worker, your stress levels and your burnout are even higher. And this costs globally businesses 422 billion due to lost productivity and turnover. I don't know if you all found these statistics shocking or anything like that. I took a step back. I don't know about you, Nikki.
100%. I can see that Jennifer's saying, even I think perhaps before you mentioned the figure in the US, she's saying that actually it's in the billions for sure. So we know, we have an understanding of scale and of size, and the fact that it is costly both to the purse, the wallet, and also our own kind of well-being as well.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
as we do
Yes.
in my series, it's story time. And I like to work with stories because I think it helps to kind of sneak past our protective brain that's like, no, we don't want to change. And it's like, it's just a story. And stories are allegories and metaphors. And I think it really helps people to uncover insights that they maybe hadn't considered before. So what's going to happen is Nikki and I are going to tell a story together. Oh, and sorry, in the story picture was people around a fire, some elders around a fire. And now we are looking at the picture of an x-ray of a person holding onto a mouse. And what comes to mind for you when you're looking at this picture, Nikki?
First of all, the first thing that's coming to mind is I'm thinking, okay, this person is maybe, why do we get an x-ray done? Maybe because we need to check on our health. Maybe there's something that's happening there. The other thing that comes to mind is the fact that this person is holding onto the mouse and almost like holding onto it for dear life, holding onto it poised and kind of ready to respond, not kind of letting the hand rest anywhere else, just kind of like waiting for the opportunity to press a button to do something.
Yeah, so let's give this person a name. What do you think about
Yeah.
Macy? Because there's a mouse.
I've just seen the comment from Akua, working to death. Exactly, like literally. Yeah, you definitely are onto something there. Thank you, Akua. Love that.
Yeah. And Greg Farron posted today that our busyness is killing us, literally. This person is locked in, plugged in. They have not paused. Um, Always ready. Anything else you want to say about Macy?
Just trying to think if there's anything else that's kind of coming up for me. I think really the other thing is no, I think that that's probably it. I think really it's, looking at the fact that this poise, this always on, this always ready is seems to be her character, seems to be Macy's character.
Yeah. And if you all think of anything, you can put it in the chat as well, because this is interactive. And sometimes what you share will definitely help us with as we tell this story together. So Macy is really always on. And what's the challenge for Macy? And we see a picture of some people and a dog jumping out into the water. And it looks exciting. So I'm thinking maybe Macy jumps in without thinking. They just leap. At least there's something to catch their landing. What what happens or what comes up to mind for you, Nikki?
Yeah, I think one of the things that kind of comes to mind immediately is I think that there's a lot of benefit to leaping into new challenges and doing new things. As we've just seen from the previous picture, it was all about, being poised and ready and working to death potentially. And I wonder if there's something here, or I wonder if there's an opportunity or a challenge that Macy might be facing that actually there is there is something to be had around taking a pause before you leap, before jumping into what could be the unknown, because that looks like water that
Mhm.
the dog and whoever the two people are who are jumping off a plane or a helicopter. It looks like they're jumping into water. The dog looks like they have a parachute, so maybe there's some safety considerations there. But I just think there is a lot of people, including myself and people I work with, who are working on autopilot. We're just jumping in. We're like, oh, well, I always jump there. It's like almost if we're driving along a road that you drive down every single day. And imagine that this particular road doesn't have a stoplight, doesn't have a traffic sign, and you just keep driving because it never has the traffic sign. But today, it does. It has it today. Maybe it's a temporary thing because there's roadworks going on or something like that. But if
Yeah,
you are on autopilot, you will miss that because you'll be thinking, well, there's never any lights there. I'm just going to keep going. And it's
yeah,
very easy to do that if we're not in the present because we just do what we've always done.
yeah. And even though there's a parachute, as you mentioned, there's water there, and that water looks deep. And I also noticed that the dog is just following the human. So maybe Macy is following others, and Macy's been told certain stories about ambition and success, and this might be contributing to that FOMO. Maybe I don't know if the dog is like, I don't know about this, but I'm going to do it anyway because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
Uh, Akua notes that she's wearing protective clothing, armor, and maybe not willing to let go. So that's
Mm.
a really good point as well.
Good
And
share like that.
yeah, I like that, Sharon. Sometimes when you're now in the water, the clothes may weigh you down. So what maybe thinking about what are some of the beliefs and the stories we tell ourselves that we need to let go. So really powerful share. Thank you, Akua. So what could help? What would help Macy and help us to overcome this? And we're looking at this picture out where some mountains, and there's so many stars in the sky and clouds. It's just a sense of space. And what comes to mind for you, or what is Macy doing here?
Maybe she needs to take a holiday. Maybe she needs some space. Maybe that's a micro holiday. Maybe that's just a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, maybe a day, 2 days. Because sometimes there is this thinking that, okay, if I keep going, I'm going to miss out. When actually taking some space, and this picture definitely reminds me of um, somewhere in outer space. Whether it is, I don't know, but that's what comes to mind for me. And it's what can happen, the clarity. I think I posted on this today, like what can happen when we take a pause is things become clearer. The things that seemed really blurry, the things that seemed confusing, the things that were hard for us to decide become clearer, and we're able to figure out what we actually want in this and take everybody else out of it a little bit by going in to come out again.
Yeah, thinking big picture. So perhaps with our story, after a near drowning incident, Macy decided to take a vacation and got this perspective by being out there. Because whether this near drowning was literal or figurative, some of us are
Oh.
drowning in paperwork or all the things. I had at the end of the year some news about my family, and it would be easy to just think of all the details there, but I said I need to look, I need to give myself some space and kind of get that 30,000 feet in the air. And what became clear to me was I am going to ruthlessly protect my joy despite all these things that are happening, and that
Mm.
has been my guiding light. And Akua shares taking a pause, gazing at the stars, yeah, a break to just be. So Macy is out in the wilderness getting some new ideas. Anything else that Macy's happening before we go to the next picture?
I think you definitely hit on something there about the new ideas, because that's really where we tend to come up with different ways of doing the same thing or new things that we hadn't thought of when we just take a moment to get out of the nitty gritty, the weeds, the detail.
Yeah, and we're gonna take a little pause for leaders and business owners. And this is a picture of some pawns or some little pieces, little game pieces. One is red and it's kind of facing off against all these yellow pieces. And sometimes a lot of the excuses or the reasons that I hear for people not wanting to do something different, again, missing those networking opportunities, is they're the person impacted by leaders and business owners. So when we're thinking of a boss or a manager, how do you be a mindful leader versus a leader that is filling up people's minds with stress? So what are your
Mm.
thoughts on this
I
as
mean,
leaders
yeah,
a different path?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is daring to be different, daring to stand out, just by the very nature of the fact that this one is red and the rest of them are yellow game pieces. But I think also, as you said, if whether we're leaders of an organization or if we have a small team or whether we are just working for ourselves and we are seen in a leadership way by the people that we want to support and help, either way, there are opportunities to have a different approach. And there's some really wonderful principles of mindfulness. Three are coming to mind, I think, that I would want to talk about. It's the first one is like just focus on the fact that it's okay. And in fact, it's more than okay to be a beginner, to have a beginner's mindset, even if you've been doing something 7, 8, 9 years. Imagine if you turn up to the thing that you've always done and you approach it as if you're doing it for the first time, and being able to see something that you hadn't spotted before because you're present in this moment. And I think if you're a leader and the people that you are leading see you taking a different way, taking JOMO, not always FOMO, it then allows people to see, okay, well, if they're doing it, then I could also do that. Sometimes the person that everybody was waiting for to show a different path is you. It has to be somebody. So that would be the things that are really coming up for me.
I love it. And where in my day job, we do something called a Gemba walk, where you're looking at a process through
Mhm.
fresh eyes. And we encourage people that don't normally do the process to come with us and see it through fresh eyes. And I think the second principle, if I'm not mistaken, that you wanted to talk about was acceptance and the difference
Mhm.
between that and resignation. I thought you had a
Mm.
brilliant example for that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that when people hear acceptance, it's easy to think, oh, that means I'm just going to give up. I'm just accepting. I'm accepting the things are the way that they are. But actually, there's another reframe on that of acceptance is imagine if it's raining outside and you spend your whole day wishing that it wasn't raining. I have done that. But it's not going to change the fact that it's raining. What acceptance looks like is you saying, okay, it's raining. I'm going to wear the proper clothing. I'm going to have the proper equipment, an umbrella or Wellington boots or rain mac or whatever you need. And that is about being then accepting the fact that there's this thing there that I cannot change, but I can change how well prepared I am, how I react to it, or how I respond to it, should I say. So acceptance doesn't have to mean that I'm giving up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes accepting in this sense is accepting that I can't be everywhere. I can't do all the things and I can't be all the things for all the people. Um, Oliver Cassoon, I think. Oh, Oliver is here as well.
Peak content. Thanks for supporting me, son.
Yeah, that's
I
so
mean,
lovely.
he just started high school, and there's a definite fear of missing out. Like, I'm going to miss my assignment, all the
Hmm.
pressure. I forgot to do something. I had to keep
Hmm.
all my notes straight. Did I bring my dress out clothes? So I think also being curious about new things, especially if you're a
Yes.
leader or a business owner, how can we do things in a new way? Being curious about what is happening as well. So, as a parent, what example am I setting? Or as a leader, what example am I setting? Am I writing people at 2 o'clock in the morning? Am I sending those emails like that? Am I setting people up for that FOMO because of that versus being a more present person and thinking about, well, how is this impacting my
Yeah.
team? Any last bit on this one, Nikki?
Nothing to add from me on that one.
Okay. And then finally, what is a way forward? Who boy,
What the heck is going on here?
there is a person surrounded by wires on a pole. They look like a technician that might be working on some cables. I don't know if they're electrical or not. And if we come back to our story, Macy took a vacation, went out and saw this beautiful sky, and came back from vacation. And the inbox is crazy. The work orders are piled up. There's 1,792 unread emails. And so, what do you think is the way forward for Macy?
After she takes a nice slow breath, is what I would say. Um, the other thing is just to tackle one wire at a time. Like I don't think there's any other way to do this. I mean, like look at the way that they're tangled up. So the only way to really figure out what to do in this case for Macy or for this person um, who is working on the line here is just to untangle and tackle one wire at a time.
I love untangling knots. I spent a kid's birthday party. There was this fishing game, and it was all tangled up. I spent hours doing that. And that's exactly what it is. It forces you to be present. You do that one thing, you start noticing what you're noticing, and then you build up the momentum. And for me, when you're present, it's also noticing what you don't like. Like, if you
Hmm.
take the time to drink your coffee, you might notice it's horrible coffee, right?
Rather than just drink it down and not even be aware of what on earth is happening. Yes.
Yeah. Any last words on a way forward?
I think I guess that whole piece that we were just talking about really in terms of tackling one thing at a time and noticing what you notice, I think that you've pulled out the key points there.
Okay, so we're going to take a last look at Macy. Macy was working themselves to death, jumped out of the plane trying to follow everyone else's idea of ambition and success, had a near drowning incident or maybe a nervous breakdown from this, and went on vacation, got some space and perspective, came back to this inbox. And it's what this points out to me. It's really easy when you're on vacation and you don't have everything calling to you to be clear, that's so easy. But when we come back to the real world with the people calling you and your obligations and responsibility, it's really important to be present and do that one thing at a time, mindful.
Yes.
Anything else for you for this one?
No, I love to see how it's all come together. I really like this process of just thinking about how we can discuss the theme creatively and just coming up with ideas. It doesn't matter how ridiculous or how plausible they sound. It's just, I think it's a lovely creative process. And I think that's the other point I would say is that this is a really restful activity, like creatively coming up with ideas, storytelling. This is a way to rest creatively, to get those juices kind of flowing.
Thank you. So, with that, what's next? It could be we had fun. This was a great live. I'm good. Peace out. Hopefully, some of you are team replay and you will start to integrate those things into what you're doing. But if you'd like to work further with either of us, then Nikki has her, let Nikki tell you about Rest and Rise.
Absolutely. I know that we are coming up to time, so I will be nice and clear. So, one of the main ways to work with me is on my one-to-one program called Rest and Rise. And it is an opportunity for women in business, for female founders who are always on, to actually speed up, but not by going faster, by actually slowing down. Because actually, when you do that, you're able to create a life for yourself, for your business that is sustainable. And so that you can realize that rising and succeeding doesn't have to mean being drained and ground down to a pulp. So I really support people to embrace rest and to create a version of success that is actually their own, not the one that they think that they should have or they wanted to have 20 years ago.
Like you said, we're not peppercorns. And if you want to
Ex-
work with me, exactly, we're not. I love
exactly.
that. You've gotten a sneak peek of what it's like to work with me. This is kind of some of the things we do in my Clarity Play Shops. We're using storytelling to uncover ideas that we hadn't considered before. Because Nikki was like, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm like, just trust the process. And
Yes.
to be fair, she trusted the process. And here we are with this beautiful story about Macy. So if you our emails that are there, our contact information, Nikki is on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Please get a hold of either one of us if you would like to work with us. And with that, thank you all so much for joining Mindful or Mindful. Nikki, I really appreciate you being my guest. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your not crazy schedule because you are doing what you promised. Any final words for our audience before we say goodbye?
No, I would just say, is there one thing that you do every day as standard that you could choose to do mindfully? And mindfully is just paying attention to that thing. So the thing that you do normally without thinking about it every day, pick a one thing. That's my invitation is to see whether that's something that you're willing to try out and really be mindful in that thing. And just
And I'd
notice
say
what you notice.
yeah, and make a game out of it, the noticing
Yeah,
game.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, thanks everyone. Thank you, Nikki. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.